Welcome everybody to another edition of the Leading Ladies podcast, where we have amazing conversations with amazing women. And today's conversation is no different. We have Alto with us. Now, Alto, I want you to introduce yourself and what it is that you do. But I met you a few weeks ago during a consultation with my son for dreadlocks. And that's why I wanted to have you here today, because it was so much information just in your consultation. I thought it was important. But introduce yourself and what it is that you do.
Hello. My name is Alto Wright. I am a barber. I am a cosmetologist. I am a cosmetology instructor. That's my current. Do I get into my past too?
We're going to get into your past. We're going to dig all in it. Yep.
I am a registered nurse as well. That's my past life. But currently, I am an entrepreneur, and I pursue. My main focus is barbering and specializing in locks. That's my specialty. That's my goal. That's what I've been graced in. That's my ministry. That's what I do.
Yes, and so it's the specialty in locks that really intrigued me, because I feel like there's so much rich heritage in locks that goes under the radar, because there's a lot of misconceptions that people don't understand. We're going to dig into that, but before we get into that, we're going to talk about your past lives. So you started as a registered nurse.
Started out as a STNA, actually.
STNA, okay. Okay.
Went up the ladder. Aide, then I went into an LPN, became an LPN and RN, bachelor's. Then completely abandoned all of that, left that, and then I went into cosmetology.
How you were a nurse for 17 years?
Yes.
That's a 17-year career.
Yes.
A lot of education, a lot of time spent.
Yes,
A lot of money, exactly. So did you think that was going to be what you did for the rest of your life? Like, was that your focus?
It was.
Okay.
It was.
And then 17 years go by and you say, I don't want to do this no more.
Yes.
Why?
I'm not happy. Was not happy. I was not happy. You are only here for the time that you are here, and you should not have to suffer while you are here. And I was suffering. My happiness, I was sacrificing my happiness for my career. And I decided to not do that anymore.
Yeah. But you know what's unfortunate? A lot of people are suffering and they're unhappy in their career, but they don't have the courage or the revelation or whatever it is, whatever reason they haven't stepped out and said, I'm going to do something different. They're struggling to do that. Was there a moment, a shift that happened for you that said, I'm not doing this? Or was it just, I'm not happy, we're going to go somewhere else?
It was
like, what was
the
shift? Yeah.
It was definitely a shift. 2018 was my shift. That's when I stood in my living room. And I declared over myself. And I just took Bible verses. I didn't even have the Bible at that time. I just took Bible verses that I knew, that I had read, that was coming to me, that I had remembered, that God spoke over my life. You know, they say, you know, you got to step out on faith and you have to make him stand on his word. And that's exactly what I did. Yep. I said, you told me that you was going to have me, because I was not to suffer on this. Listen, everything came to me at that point in time, and that's what I was declaring in my living room. I spoke it over myself. I spoke it over my household. I prayed. I was crying. Just emotions were everywhere. But that's what I needed to start the ball rolling for, in order to reach the goal that I needed to reach.
Yeah. But 2018, what got you to that point? 2018, that was the
year.
You
get tired.
Okay. What brought you to that point?
You get tired of being tired. I was over 300 pounds. I was the last time I got on the scale. I'm sure.
Girl, you look amazing. So how much weight did you lose?
I know it was like over 100 and, I know it was over 120 pounds. It was over 120 pounds.
Yeah.
So much happened.
Break it down, because I lost 120 pounds too, and I believe it was 2018 was my pivotal transition.
Wow.
So it's a lot to unpack in that year of 2018, and I wonder how many other people had similar experiences, because it seems like as people collectively, we tend to kind of be going through the same things within the same time frame.
Right.
But I lost 125 pounds exactly in 2018. I had the gastric sleeve, so I had that tool to help me along that journey, but it was 2018. So break down 2018. You're a nurse, you got children, you have this moment in your living room where you're like, God, you got to stand on your word because something isn't right. I'm unhappy. What happened in 2018 to get you to that point?
It didn't happen quite in 2018. It happened, I failed to mention, but might as well throw it out there. 2015. 2015, I was married. I was married for 12 years to an abusive man. And 2015, he got murdered by the woman that he cheated on me with.
Okay.
So between the time of 2015 and 2018 was just, depression. You fighting battles that you didn't even know that you had to fight. You're dealing with things and you're going through this while raising children. So in 2018 was when I got tired of it. I got tired of, I got tired of being depressed.
Yeah.
You get tired. It's that moment where you just get tired. Sometimes you're just like, you keep fighting and you keep fighting and you keep fighting and you keep fighting, but sometimes you need to quit fighting.
Yeah.
You just need to just sit down and just stop and just listen.
Yeah.
And then that's oftentimes where your peace is, if you were to just listen. So that's what I did. And I said, I'm standing on my word.
I want to ask you one thing about that, and then we'll move on. But you were in this relationship for how long?
11, 12 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why didn't you leave?
Mentally, you always have, well, I always felt things were going to get better. I needed, if I did this to myself, I can affect that person. You can't change another person.
You can't.
You end up losing yourself, and that's what I did.
Yeah.
And you don't even realize you're lost until you just wake up one day and you're like, where am I at right now? What is this?
Yes.
I don't even
This ain't my life. This ain't it.
What is going on? And you just lose yourself. I lost myself. I lost myself. And it is, oh, wow. I'm surprised that came out. I'm just going to put that out there.
I thank you for sharing it, though, because that is a lot of people's stories. It's a lot of people's stories. And there's a lot of people who have questions. Well, why do they stay? Why don't they just leave? But I think there's always a deeper issue that's not being recognized. And instead of judging, I do think that it should be support. It should be empowerment. For whatever reason, you felt like it was something that you were doing wrong, and you continue to stay.
You tend to put what you want love to look like into someone else instead of putting it into yourself. So when you don't love yourself, but yet you crave that love, you want that love, you desire that love. So sometimes you're like, you know what? Maybe if I pour all of this into this person, they would love me like I want to be loved, like I desire to be loved.
Yeah.
However, that's setting up an expectation for that person.
Yeah.
You can't, and then so you have this expectation set, but then that person fails. So then guess what? You're depressed.
Yeah.
Because that person didn't give you the love that you wanted them to give, because you are pouring into them with the expectation that they're going to give you that back. That's not their character, so that's not what they're going to do. So you have to take that and pour it into yourself and love you so that you can be empowered, so that you can open your eyes and see, and that's what I eventually did. However, during that time, I'm pouring, and eventually you start
You're
pouring from an
empty.
empty
Yeah.
vessel. And then it starts taking from other things. Your mental, it just starts. It's gonna take,
Yeah.
until you say no more,
Yep. No more.
no more.
So 2018 now.
Was no
you're
more.
You're in this space, and you said, God, no more.
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving you full control
Mm-hmm.
to do what you said you're gonna do in my life.
Mm-hmm.
What happened after that moment?
Hell.
But
Look,
listen,
it ain't
that's
pretty.
how it be. Healing is not pretty. Reconstruction is not pretty. And oftentimes when you pray for something in your life and God says, okay, I'm going to begin to reconstruct your life, that construction time, it looks like a bunch of mess. And a lot of people give up and they curse God in that time and all of these different things, but you endured it. What was your mindset throughout that time? You said it was hell. We didn't get into it specifically, but I can imagine, what was your mindset as you were going through?
I'm going to prove myself. I am going to prove that I can do this. I am going to prove that I'm strong enough. I am going to prove that I'm a fighter. I am not going to be a victim anymore. I am not going to be a victim of circumstance anymore. I am a strong, I am a powerful woman. Yes, I have these issues, if that's what you want to call them. Yes, I have these burdens to bear, but did I bring those burdens onto myself? If I did, then it's something in me that I need to work on. I just kept going.
Yeah.
I just kept going.
Yeah.
Because I know, even depressed people, they have periods of light. You have periods of light. So you know that there is light at the end of the tunnel, And so I knew that. And I just kept reminding myself, we just forget that it's light at the end of the tunnel. So that's what keeps us stuck. But light. Go towards the light. Even when it's dark, I don't even see the light.
Oh, that's powerful. But I know it's there.
It's that faith.
But I know it's there.
I know it's there. You said it was there.
Yeah,
right?
That's powerful.
I don't see it.
But you kept moving forward.
I knew it was there.
Because I know it's there. I
there.
can't see it, but it's there. So I'm going to keep striding. Now, is that when you were transitioning into cosmetology?
Yes. I was transitioning into cosmetology, but I wasn't quite knew what I wanted to do in cosmetology at that time. Because I tried everything. I just wasn't sure. Locs was almost an accident. I know that sounds weird. Locs were almost an accident. I decided, you know what? I wanted to give people a better experience, because you hear all the horror stories. So I wanted to give people a better experience. Right. And even to this day, that's what I want. I want you to be relaxed when you come to me. I don't, I'm not going to be, talking about, my issues that I'm having. I'm not on the phone talking, yeah, I was transitioning into that, just not the whole Locs. Like I said, that I fell into that.
Yeah, but you started your Locs. How long ago before you started doing Locs for other people?
I had my Locs for about a year, maybe a little bit more.
Okay. So it was still fresh to you. Why did you decide to get Locs?
I decided to get Locs because I no longer wanted to be the light-skinned, long-haired girl. Yeah. I no longer wanted to be that. Everybody puts you in a box when you have a certain characteristic, like being light-skinned. And then not only was I light-skinned, I've had this long hair, You're not putting me in a box. I'm more than just being light-skinned with long hair. So don't worry about it. I'm going to just lock it up.
Right. And that's what I loved about your story. So when we were doing a consultation for you to start my son's Locs, you brought that up. That's how you started the Locs. And it immediately sent that signal to me. Okay, we got to go deeper because you kind of brushed over it just in the consultation explaining to who you were. But I heard the deeper context in being a light-skinned girl with fine hair and wanting to kind of break out of that image. I'm a light-skinned woman. I hear guys all the time talk about they like light skin, they like red bones. I've always been offended by that because for me, I'm like brown skin girls, dark skin girls are just as beautiful and sometimes be badder than anybody else in the room.
Yes.
But you look at the light skinned girl because of her tone, oh my goodness, and don't let her have good hair. You know what I mean? So I dated a guy, and I shared this with you before the camera started, but I dated a guy one time that I stopped talking to after this because I asked him, I said, what kind of girls do you usually go for? And he said, well, usually your complexion or lighter. So I'm like, oh, you out here brown paper bagging them. I barely made the cut.
Right.
I'm done. I'm good, you know. And as I shared that conversation, that story with people, my friends and family, they're like, well, everybody has the right to their preference. But my problem comes from, do you understand where that preference even comes from? Right. There's a programming that has always said that lighter skin is better. And I understand my light skin privilege. And I understand that in the room, I may get more attention than a dark skin or brown skin girl just because I'm light skinned, not necessarily that I'm better or anything. That has always bothered me. So when you shared that, I immediately knew what you were talking about. I never was as bold as you to say, I'm gonna lock it up. I'm gonna change this image. So what was that for you? When you said, I'm done, I don't wanna be that image anymore, this is what I'm gonna do.
I have always been the type of, even my friends tell me, I've always been the type of person, I'm just jumping. I'm just going. I'm leaping. You know, I keep people scared. Oh, all my friends will be like, Lord, what is she going to do today?
Yes.
I'm going. Once it's up here, actions follow me.
I love it.
You know, yeah, if you really know me, you know, if I say, I'm about to start, you know, riding motorcycles. Take me seriously. Take me seriously.
I love
because
it.
I just said it. I'm gonna be doing it. You know. So it was. You're not putting me in a box. You're not putting me under a label because I'm gonna bust out of it every single time.
I love it.
Every time.
So, do you think that women struggle with that? Just that being in a box, being kind of conformed to one image. Oftentimes when we have these conflicting dualities within us, but I'm going to just go with what society says I am because it's comfortable and it's the least controversial. So I'm just going to do that. Do you feel like, well, what would be your message for women that you know are struggling with breaking out of the box and just jumping and being fully who they are?
Find out who you are first. You have to know who you are before you can say you've been put in a box. Because maybe you need to be in that box. Maybe you are in that box.
Yeah. I hear something there. Because sometimes people are so uncontained that they're all over the place. And you need a season of I don't want to say conformity, but you need a season of just having some barriers, some boundaries, just to kind of figure out. So I'll tell you my journey and just my spiritual journey. I identify as a Christian woman, but at one time in my journey, I was like hardcore religious Christian woman. I was in the box. But that introduced me to God. I had to go in the box to be introduced. And then I outgrew that box and I began to go on my own spiritual journey. So that's why the box comment resonated so much with me. I want to go ahead and continue because I cut your wisdom short.
Oh, you're fine.
Yes, I cut your wisdom short, but why do you think women struggle with their identity? Because I hear that a lot. Be who you are. Be authentic. How do you even know who you are?
I started by figuring out what triggered me from another woman. If you look at a woman and you be like, she is not, why is she even wearing that? And you sitting up there 324 pounds, can't wear that. You mad because she got that on and you can't put it on. So then I had to realize, why are you triggered by that woman? Because now I'll be like, girl, you better wear that. You better wear that.
Yes. Yep.
But beforehand, I was that woman that would be like, no, but it's because that's what triggered me. So I knew that that's what needed to heal.
Yeah.
So it's certain things when you know that you are looking down on somebody, you should never be looking down on anybody. However, if you notice that you are looking down on a person, maybe that's something that's in you that you might need to focus on. Mm-hmm. So that was my first focus was, why do I think about that? But why don't I like that one? I don't even know that woman from the man on the moon.
Right.
Why in the world don't I like her?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Her presence in the room, you just immediately get tense.
Exactly.
That's something in you.
Yeah, it's definitely something in you. Mm-hmm. So that's why I say start. Figure out your triggers. You know what? Because you're triggered for a reason. Mm-hmm. You know, but a lot of people don't want to. I just don't like her because of what?
That because has a ... because you don't know.
Hello.
Yeah.
So you need to do some introspection.
Yeah.
Why don't I like her? Mm-hmm. Okay, well let's break it down even further. What about her don't I like? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, what is in her that is in me or is not in me? Mm-hmm. You know, and just start there. It's gonna take you down a path.
Yeah. That's a good segue into the Sierra picture. We talked about it a little bit and we got really deep into that. So the Sierra photo that went viral was her at the Oscars and she had this very see-through revealing outfit. And one of the memes that I saw was a photo of her and Russell that went viral some years prior in the church praising. And then beside that was her in this revealing outfit, showing everything. It showed everything. But the caption said something along the lines of faking. Basically, like them in church worshiping wasn't real. And I want to know your perspective on the photo, the reaction of people. What's your perspective on it?
Mind your business. Mind your business. Because the same people that are out there judging that woman or that relationship are the same ones that's praising on Sunday and be right at the club Sunday night wearing the same thing or even less than what she got on. You just was in a church fully clothed talking about everything, and then later on you go ahead and put on your thong and mind your business. Yeah. Mind your business. Once again, you triggered by that. Yep. Why are you triggered?
Why are you triggered?
Is that because that's what you're doing? And you're like, she just read.
But she had the audacity to do it in public. And I feel like a lot of people struggle with their duality. A lot of people struggle with those opposite. First of all, there's light and dark. There's up and down. There's a duality in life that when we start to embrace that duality a little bit more, that's when we step into our authenticity. Right. That's what I believe. Becoming who you are is embracing the light and the dark. Right. And maybe, that type of outfit is revealing that more darker side, more, free-flowing side, like the duality between being in the box, but then also being outside of the box, right? And that's all, we all have that within us. And I think when people are triggered by someone at Sierra's status, it's because she's an easy target, right? Because like you say, you're in church, but on Saturday night, you out in the club doing whatever you do. Or not only that, because I know there's people that say, I don't go to the club, I don't even drink, that's in church, right? But what they do is curse over their life. They eat the stuff that's in the Bible that you're not supposed to eat. They get angry at people, they talk about people, they gossip on people. You're still operating in that dual space, but you're justifying it and coming from a judgmental place. So my perspective is the same as yours when it comes to just mind your business.
Mind your business.
If it's something that you wouldn't do, don't comment on it. Keep your perspective to yourself because these are still people that may be finding their way or whatever it is. We don't know. I personally think it was thought behind it, right? I can't help but to believe that she has some thought behind that decision. It wasn't just a frivolous, I'm gonna wear this.
Right.
Her and her man talked about it. They talked about the conversation was gonna start. I bet you she got an album coming.
Right.
Something along the lines of that. But yeah, my perspective is similar to yours. Let people just be them and do them, and you find yourself.
Exactly.
Because once you know yourself, you're gonna respond differently to people that's on their journey. You're not gonna have that same controversial response. In my experience, you allow people to just be them.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So, I want to continue and get to something else that we talked about. And I'm trying to remember certain stuff because, child, before this camera started, we was just getting into some good stuff. Right. But we talked about your journey with your children, 2018. You were homeless. You were transitioning, figuring out what you wanted to do with your life. You were talking about how close you and your children became in that time. Talk a little bit about that experience, just you and your babies and.
I don't know exactly where to start, but I chose to make the decision not to be a lazy parent. Oftentimes, our children are there to really help us to grow as adults, as their parents. They only can do what they see. Whether they're seeing it on TV, whether they're seeing it from friends, whether they're seeing what you do as a parent. Oftentimes we want to tell our children what to do, but we don't want to actually show them how to do it. Children are going to revert back to what they see eventually.
Yeah.
You can tell them to do X, Y, and Z. They may do it for that short period of time, but thinking independently, they're going to go back and revert back to what they actually see. So I had to learn that I had to really focus and learn to change and transition what I was doing while raising them, which means that if I'm telling them or, hey, you have to be in control of your emotions. You can't allow yourself to get out of control. You can't, look at people like this. You can't judge people like this. That means that I also have to do that. And a lot of people don't want to do that. A lot of people don't want to change who they are, but you have to if you want your children to develop, into functioning beings of society, So I chose to change how it is that I, dealt with anger or how I dealt with unforeseen circumstances. Because we was in a very, what some people would consider a dark space, but it was just a learning space for us. So I took that as an opportunity to show them no matter what, stay strong to what you believe, stay strong in your faith, walk in your faith. Don't hurt people. Because a lot of people still out there hurting people. I don't hurt anybody. Everything is pure. My heart is pure. My intentions are pure. I show them that though. Even when people, have hurt me, I show them.
Yeah.
And I tell them, I show them, this is how you respond to this. If you are angry, you don't sit and you don't hit people and you don't yell and you don't scream. Yeah, sometimes you get frustrated and need to let out your emotions. And some, I do give them screaming time. Just go upstairs, close your door, and just scream at the top of your lungs. Sometimes you do have to release that. But then after that, sit down and then we'll meditate together. Yeah. I meditate with my 12-year-old. Sit down and really, why is it that you have such strong emotion towards this particular thing? Let's sit down and let's talk about it. Why do you feel that way? Allow them to express their feelings the way that they want to express their feelings. Sometimes, it might be some cuss words involved.
Yeah.
Just be ready.
Yeah.
But allow them to do that and then give them the proper language, next time. Well, maybe you don't want to say it that way, baby. Let's use these words, but you're showing them. So then next time when that happens, they may or may not do it. It may take a few, take a little bit, because even us, it take a little while.
Yeah.
Get knocked, take a little while. So remember, they're humans. They're little, they're little people. So then just keep instilling that in them. Eventually, they will go back to that. We've had our rocky times. We've had our hard times. My children have, However, they always revert back to,
what you taught them, what you showed them, what you illustrated.
Them.
And so I want to dig really deep into this parenting piece. Because as women, we have all of these different roles and responsibilities, and we're trying to manage them all. But those babies, that's the core of who we are at this time. Like, that's our core purpose, is to develop these children. And it's a struggle. It's a struggle, especially in them teenage years where they're becoming who they are and they have all of these external influences. How do you And you touched on it a little bit, like some of the strategies that you use with the prayer, the meditation, the go upstairs, and you have a designated time to release. I love that. But how do you kind of pull this all together? Because now you have your child who's experiencing external influences. They're developing who they're becoming. There may be some attitude there. There may be some attitude towards you. How do you handle that?
Sometimes I can't say I was perfect. Sometimes I'm like, you know what? Lord, you better get me. You better lay hands on them, because if I do, it's gonna be problems, consequences, and repercussions.
Yes.
You have to have grace. You have to be gentle with yourself and understand that you're not a perfect parent. Nobody is perfect, but you're showing your children your imperfections. So even when you do mess up, even when you do screw up, and you're like, you yell at them wrong, and you send them to their room, or you get out of my face just right now. I show them. I still go to them. You know what? Let me tell you. I was wrong in my emotions. Okay.
That's good.
I was wrong.
That was good.
Let me explain to you why I was wrong. And then we'll talk about it, and then, we'll release, and then we end in love, But you have to, a lot of parents feel this superiority over their children. And yes, they're your children. You're not their, my kids know you're not my friend. You're still my child. However, you have feelings.
Yeah.
You have emotions. You have your own way. You're not a little me. You have your own upbringing, and I just let my kids be them.
Yeah.
Be you. You have to let them fall too.
Yeah.
You got to be willing to let them fall. Got to.
Yeah, I love it, because you said something earlier. You mentioned lazy parenting. And what you're illustrating takes intentional work. It takes intentional effort. I do think that sometimes a lot of people look at their children as, they're my children. My role is to control them and make them become who I want them to be. Yeah. But the reality is, our role as parents is to develop them into being the best versions of themselves.
Right.
That takes intentionality, that takes flexibility, and that takes effort. So you talked about lazy parenting and just your home environment, right? When something is off in the home, what do?
When something is off in my home, I usually try to figure out why. It comes out in my youngest child. That's when I first notice it. It comes out in him. It can come out in ways of his grades. His grades may start being affected. I just start noticing maybe his attitude around the house. Maybe, he has certain chores. Maybe he starts slacking in that. Something's up. That's a red flag to me. So let me sit down and talk to him for a minute.
Yeah.
Or I'll just observe what he's doing, and then I may correct it in myself. We may not have a formal conversation, but I'm like, okay, he's doing this. Maybe I'm not home enough. Maybe it's me.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to sit down and we need to maybe have just dinner together. Sometimes we need to maybe have mommy-son time or mommy-daughter time. Maybe we just need to do that. Maybe you just need to be present as a parent. You may not need to, specifically, do anything to correct his behavior or her behavior, but since it's a son.
Yeah.
But maybe I need to correct something in myself. Maybe I need, like I said, be home more. Maybe I need to, when I come home, if I'm extremely tired, sometimes I can't be that. Sometimes I can't be that parent that can just
lay down.
Be the. But what I'll do is I'll keep my door open.
Okay.
Out to my bedroom.
Yeah.
Listen, I love you. I'm about to go lay down.
Yeah.
My door's open. Yeah. I don't close my door, to my bedroom or anything. I'll keep, and my son, he'll peek in. Hey, Mom, I did this, I did that. Okay, Hey, Mom, and I just noticed even just doing that, his spirit just started, his grades start going up. So it's just, if you just really pay attention and, don't blame your children and really figure out why they're acting that way and how you are responsible for it, not baby daddy, how you are responsible for it, then, and that takes work.
It does. But how do you deal with the attitudes?
Ooh. Lord. Sometimes I just deal with it as it comes. Depending on the type of attitude. Like if my son is like, I'm like, okay, it's time to get off the game. Now it's not so hard. He'll, Mom, okay, I realize that I did X, Y, and Z. Now he's able to identify. However, at the beginning, it was a battle. It was a battle. Yeah. You just have to keep straight. You just have to hold on. Just don't give up. Too many people give up too soon. Yeah, it's a battle. Go to your room and just sit and think about it. But give them something to think about.
Yeah.
Don't just send them up there willy-nilly. Go up to your room. Think about why it is that you're not on the game. How are you responsible for this? I know I'm responsible, but how are you responsible? Put the responsibility back on them, And when you get them to reflect, it's the same as us. We get to, that's my trigger. That's their trigger. Why is that their trigger?
Yeah.
Because my son is no longer his trigger.
Yeah.
When I say get off the game, you are no longer on the game because you did not. He's like, you know what, Mom, you're right.
He says you're right.
You're right.
Okay,
Mom,
I need some advice. I need some advice because I have a 13-year-old. Now, I would, have certain restrictions like no game, no phone, things like that. Now, my son never gives me attitude. He never gives me mouth back. He never does that. But I'm also concerned because he almost shows no emotion. And
that's a red flag.
Yeah, yeah, and I feel it, right? Because it's like he's so indifferent, and I'm like, what is he internalizing? What is he holding on to? That is my fear, and I try to talk to him and just tell him, like, express yourself. How do you feel? How do you feel about the discipline? How do you feel? And as we have the conversation, we'll talk about it. So he will release it. So we still have that relationship where he will release it, but it takes for me to kind of pull a little bit, and I would like him to be more just open, like, you know what, all right,
why is he my first thing is, why is he closed off?
I don't know. He reminds me of his dad.
Would it be his dad needing to, because it's my daughter sometimes can connect with my younger son more than I can because she can relate to how he felt in that moment because she remembers how she felt in that moment. So sometimes she can bring familiarity to him. So sometimes she can hit him better than I can.
Yeah.
Not hit physically.
I got you.
But connect with him better than I can. So if that's an option, why, or why has his dad been closed off? And just those questions.
Ask those questions. No, I've been digging and just kind of like studying, and I know some things with his dad and just his mother and like the disconnect there. And my concern is there a disconnect between me and my son, who's now 13? I am very busy. I try to be conscious and intentional about time, and just, again, showing him how you handle challenges, showing him how you handle difficult people and difficult situations, and not, but almost, I won't say I lack emotion, but I don't show emotion. You know what I mean? And I'm also concerned that maybe the way I respond to things, which is just kind of like, it is what it is, and that really is my response to life. It is what it is. I wonder if he's like internalizing it and he's showing it in that way. So I've been digging. I've been, digging, doing that research, trying to unpack what is it, studying him, studying me, studying his dad. Why is this? Because I do see that can be a cause for concern, especially as a young child, a young Black boy who may be internalizing his feelings. But then I'm like, I don't want to try to pull something that's not there. Maybe he's really okay. And then,
In my youngest, he did do therapy. He did do therapy a little bit, and I allowed him to do therapy on his own.
Okay.
And I told him do not feel as if though she's gonna come tell me anything. You know, just be open. I want my children to grow up and just be able to be better than I ever was. You know, are they still gonna have their struggles and their battles? Yes, because you know it is what it is. However, I don't want them to have the same struggles. You know, so it's kind of like let's get rid of this struggle. Let's worry about something else.
Yes.
You know, and then their children. Let's worry about something else. And then eventually we're climbing up that ladder. You know, to where the generation the generation before above, you know, the generation before.
They're not dealing with the same struggles from the prior generation. That's true. And it's like every generation we should be improving. Right. We should be improving emotionally.
Unfortunately, some families we don't.
They're
we can
stuck.
see it.
Oh my gosh.
You know, it's the same
that
thing.
That is so
over
true.
And over and over and over again.
That is so true.
And every family's battles are different. You know, that was just my battle. You know. Another family battle, maybe something different, maybe something deeper. And sometimes what you take from, you know, this particular situation may not fit in your situation. And so is everything is a thumbprint.
That is so good. Listen, that helped me. And I know that frees some women because that's the struggle. And oftentimes when we're out here in these spaces and we're killing it in our careers and we're killing it in our respective roles, those are the things that we're dealing with internally behind closed doors, and it's never talked about openly. So on top of dealing with the burdens from the world and the image and society and just executing at a high level, you might feel like you're failing in certain areas and you don't feel comfortable or even feel like you can have that conversation candidly. So I know for a fact that just frees some people, which is why I stayed on it as long as I did. But now I want to transition into the locks. We talked about where dreadlock, the title came from, which I never knew that dreads and locks were even seen as two different things. But you talked about that a little bit before we started recording. Explain dreadlocks, what they are, how the title dreadlocks came about.
Dreadlocks, it really depends on who you're talking to. At the end, the word, the word itself. Dreadlocks depends on who you're talking to. There is a belief or was a belief that the word dread meant dreadful. So they didn't want to connect the word dreadful to locks. So it's certain people who would say that dreadlocks has a negative connotation to it, you know, because the word dread is connected. So some people decided to take the word dread away and just have locks. And that's where you have a community that says dreadlocks. However, if you have those that's dug deeper into
where it started,
is looked at as actually negative to put the word dread with locks, because dreads were at one point considered dreadful.
So who even came up with the name dread? Was it colonizers?
Yes.
Did they put that on there? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, it looked dreadful. You
Okay.
know, locks, and not necessarily because I've heard and I've read and I've seen so many different things in history regarding locks or dread locks. It can get muddled to where we could potentially start just worrying about the wrong thing, you know, or just worrying too much about that we're so stuck on that we don't really pull from it what we really need to in order to move on with life.
Yeah.
You know.
What do you mean by that?
So we can get stuck so much on the terminology of dreadlocks, you know, dreadlocks, dreadful, to where we're not really understanding that, you know, locks are supposed to be freeing.
Okay.
Locks are supposed to be where we're not really in the constructs of societal norms. We're free. You know, we are we're still going to the salons and we're still doing the things that we need to do, but we're doing it more just naturally, you know, more just ancestrally, you know, versus going and doing these different things to our hair that fits us back in this box, you know, that people say that we should be in. You know, it's some people who can't get jobs because of locks. So, it's just.
So dreadlocks is a symbol of freedom. It's a symbol of freedom. And so take me back into our heritage, because there's rich heritage associated with dreadlocks. Was it something that our ancestors did to symbolize their freedom, or did it what did it represent for them?
Not to be in that box of societal norms.
Okay.
So when they're over, you know, when the society says you should, as a black woman, you should relax your hair. You know, your hair should be straight all the time. Go and get silk pressed out all the time. Your edges, you gotta have your edges slicked. Everything gotta be straight. Why do everything gotta be straight? We came on this earth. Our hair is kinky.
Yes.
Our hair is curly. Why do it always have to be straight? Why we gotta come out of our natural state in order to fit this norm that's been placed upon us?
Yeah.
So yes, locks are supposed to be free. You know, we're not, and I even see, you know, things come over into the lock community that I'm like, no, we're not doing that over here. You know, edges and slicking, and yes, it's cute if you have just a little baby hairs.
I love that, but don't create the baby
right.
hairs. You ain't got to make no
You
baby
ain't got 'em.
hairs.
If you ain't got the baby hairs, baby, you just ain't got the baby hairs. Find something else to do with your life.
I love that, because that's probably one of my prank is. Because, child, I be seeing people will pull so much of their hair down to create this image, and it's just like, you don't have the baby hairs, baby, let them go.
Exactly.
It's okay. So you said when you got the locks, we're not doing that. We're not adding the baby hairs. We're not doing all of that stuff. You're going to be free and let this be natural, because that's what it's supposed to represent.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Exactly.
That is hilarious.
Not over here.
So what's your take on other cultures?
Other cultures? It's fine. There was a point in time where I thought that in order for you to wear dreadlocks, you needed to be black. Just throwing it out there. However, I no longer feel that way. To me, it's an energy space. It's an energy space. Though white people can be free too. You know, they're forced to fit societal norms as well. They're fighting battles that we're not fighting. They're fighting battles because they're white. They're fighting battles because they're, you know, whatever culture that they are. Yeah, you know. And be free, baby. If you're white, you're black, I don't care what, just be free. Just be free.
And you know what I took from that? Because I've recently been seeing more and more white women wearing dreads. And my first response when I see it is almost a trigger. What are they? They're taking our style. This is what we use to symbolize freedom. This comes from our culture, and you know, and it's almost a trigger. And I approached a white woman recently and asked her from a space of love and pure curiosity, right? Like I told her, I said, I'm not trying to, you know, be offensive or anything, but I truly want to know what inspired the locks. And she gave me her story. But going back to what we talked about earlier, and I don't know if we were recording at the time, but we were talking about what's triggering you. It was recorded. We were talking about what's triggering you. And even from just sharing that perspective with me, I'm realizing that when I see another culture wearing that, it's a trigger for me because we're still trying to break the molds, and we're dealing with social justice issues, and we're dealing with mass incarceration. You know, my husband's in prison. So there's some triggers in regards to our ability to be free and just have something that's just ours and back up. So that made me do some introspection and say, why am I so triggered? Not necessarily negatively, but I'm definitely turning my head. What's up with that? You know what I mean? And I want to say, you can't do it. It's just ours. But the truth is, that's something that I need to unpack and actually release because that was a trigger.
Right.
So yeah, thank you for that perspective.
No problem. And also, from their perspective, what if they got triggered when we started relaxing our hair? What if they got triggered when we start wearing silk presses? You know, our hair is naturally kinky curly. What's the difference?
I've heard that. But you know, my thing with that is we started doing the relaxers as a means to an end to be able to fit in and get some of those jobs. Because like you say, even today, dreads are still looked at as inappropriate, or afro is looked at as inappropriate. So especially, you know, 40s, 50s, when we were getting into the workforce, like in order to get a job, a decent job, you better have that silk press. So it's like we wasn't trying to be y'all. We wasn't trying to take nothing of y'all. We were actually trying to survive. And that's my take on, you know, getting into the relaxers and different things like that. And now as generations has continued, just kind of that image of what's pretty, it still kind of lingers, you know, in our society. Get your hair straight and get your hair dyed and so on and so forth, in order to, because that's, the lighter skin, the better. The finer the hair, the better. You know, that's programming from those generations. But back in the day, it was a means to an end, in my opinion.
That's a good perspective.
Yeah. So getting back to the dreads, you debunked one myth for me when we had our consultation.
Okay.
And that was, which I've already shared it with you, but that was that dreads are high maintenance. They're hard to maintain. Because this is what I've always heard, and it's what like prolonged me starting my sons, because I'm thinking like, oh my goodness, it's going to be a lot of work to keep up with, so on and so forth, because that's what I've always heard. Oh, that's a big responsibility. And first thing in the consultation you said is, let them be.
Yes.
Let them do them, right? So what is something that you hear? What is a negative myth around locks that you hear often that you want to dispel?
Oh, it's a lot of. Oh man, where do I want to start? Let me think. Let me pick one. One is hygiene. One is I don't understand where the whole, you know, locks are dirty. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I do understand where it came from. But I have, you know, locks are dirty. Locks are, you know, they're not clean, ill, you know. Locks get shampooed. Locks are supposed to be shampooed. Hygiene, you know, the things that you did before you got locks hygienically should be the same things or better that you're doing once you receive locks. You still shampoo. You know, you still keep them clean and things. So that is definitely one myth that I would definitely like to just stop. Locks are not high maintenance. And also locks are not box braids. Locks are meant to be frizzy. I intentionally came on here without my retwist.
Looking amazing.
Thank you.
Yes.
To show you that locks are not, they don't always have to have the neat parts. They don't, once again, you're putting yourself in a box.
Yeah.
They don't have to have a retwist all the time. You know, you don't have to step out in society looking like you have box braids. You know, you can step out in society with frizzy. This is natural. Yeah. You know, my hair anyway. I got some makeup on. Got some makeup on. But locks are natural. This is the natural state that we should be in, and we need to worry about something else. Like I said, when you get locks in, find something else to do with your life.
Yes.
Quit worrying about it all the time. Stay out the mirror. Find your inner beauty, because your inner beauty is going to reflect your outer beauty eventually. You know, find something else to worry about.
But, you know, nowadays it does feel like people are getting locks for the trend.
I agree.
Because it's a trend, hence the baby totally hairs and the neat parts and all of that stuff. They really don't understand the significance for it. So what would you recommend for somebody who's maybe thinking about locks, or maybe they're going through a transitional journey? Because that's been my experience when someone does the big chop that I've done several times, or they do a dread. It's usually when you're going through some kind of transition and now you want to break free from society norms or whatever's held you back in your personal life. how would you encourage somebody to kind of step into that space of freedom for themselves? Maybe they want to do some locks, maybe they want to do a big chop, but they just know they need some change, but they're afraid.
Find out why you are afraid. Why are you afraid? You know, if you sit down, because sometimes fear is not even rooted in reality. You know, find out why you are afraid. What's stopping you? Just sit down and think, what is actually stopping? Because sometimes it's not. It's just you. You know, you just want to stop you. You know, you've been told that this isn't cute. You've been told that, you know, this is ugly. You've been told that your hair is nappy. I hate that word. I hate that word.
Come on. We need to talk about that.
Word. I don't play the nappy. We don't do nappy over here. But you've been told, you know, you a nappy headed this. Girl, come here and let me comb your nappy head. You know, this is what you are programming into your children growing. So as they become adults, that's what they're replaying in their minds. You know, when I look in this mirror, all I see is a nappy headed whatever. Yeah. You know, so first find out where was your fear rooted in the first place. You know, and then go from there, you know, and see where you want to place your, you know, where you release yourself. Come get a consultation.
Come get a consultation with Alto. Because listen, so me and Alto met 2 weeks ago. And from just that brief consultation of you doing your job, but you're talking about what qualifies you to be a loctician and to do my son's locks, I pulled so much from a brief moment. And I said, I got to have you on the podcast because I just heard so much that I wanted to dig into. And I didn't even know that you was going to come with as much smoke as you did today. Because the smoke is crazy, and we also got the audio that's not a part of this, and we might release that at a later date with just the audio, because there was so much that you just dropped, and you fed my spirit so much in this conversation. So I know for a fact that this is really freeing a lot of people. So y'all make sure y'all book Miss Alto for a consultation or something. So, but before we go, I want you to give one more word of encouragement. Not necessarily to the locks or anything, but just to women, right? Because you've gone through your journey, you stepped out into entrepreneurship, you've parented from a space of love and consciousness. Like you've really kind of navigated this space of womanhood. There's a lot of women who are experiencing challenges and greatness at the same time, and they're struggling to just find themselves in that. Maybe they want to give up. Just give them a word of encouragement.
Be gentle. Be gentle with yourself. If it's okay. It's okay to be not okay. You know, it's okay to be normal. We feel like we have to constantly be on the go. We feel like we can work 16 hours a day, every day, all day, come home, cook, clean. If you got a man, you know, you're loving on him too. You know, we feel like that we are not robots. Yeah. Be gentle. First of all, be gentle with yourself. Second, you gotta figure out your triggers. And I know I said, but until you really figure out your triggers and be gentle with yourself, you're kind of gonna be stuck, you know? Yeah. Until you gotta unplug. It's like a toilet. Yeah.
It's true. Sometimes you gotta get that ish out the way. Get that ish out the way.
You can flush the toilet.
I love
what's
it.
Blocking you, you know. Find what's blocking you. It's not easy. There is no easy answer. There is no cut and dry. That's another thing, you know, even with locks, there is no one thing fits all. And that's what I definitely try to hone in on. And so how you do one thing is how you do another. Yeah. At the end of the day, how you do one thing is how you do another. If you do something this way, you're doing it this way. It's just you don't realize that you're actually doing the same thing. Yeah. So to be gentle with yourself.
Yes. I love
gentle. As to understand you're a human. Yeah. You are a human. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Thank you for that. Tell the people how they can connect with you to get a consultation or to just connect with you.
Yes, connect with me. I try to keep all my social media the same. I am on TikTok and Instagram as Alto_Miss Barbara Locs. I'm on Facebook too as Alto V's Right, but I have a lot of friend requests. I don't really go into my friend requests that often, so I'm gonna be honest. That is not the best way to connect with me. You can inbox me on Facebook though.
Okay.
Alto V's Right, ALTOVISE, Right, WRIGHT. And you can inbox me, but it's best to do it like on Instagram or TikTok or something, because yeah. Or you can text me. And I can send you a link to my booking site. And my number is 810-845-5482. And you can text me and get a link to my booking site, or you can go to any of the social media and my booking site is right there, and then you can book for a consultation there. In order for me to start Locs, you have to have a consultation first. I will not start your Locs without a consultation. It's too important. Locs are meant to be a lifestyle journey. It's a journey, not a destination. And we need to sit down and we need to talk about that. It's almost like a marriage. When it's no divorcing. Once we marry, baby. We in this for life. And so I look at Locs the same way. You sit down, we got to have a conversation. We need to discuss some stuff before we actually enter in this journey together. So it's just important that we sit down and we talk. We talk and we sit down and we be sure that this is the right path because a lot of people want to jump into it and not really understand what it is. So this just allows you to sit down and not invest yourself into something that's going to be potentially lifetime when it's a temporary situation. Don't put lifetime situations in something that's supposed to be temporary.
That's good. Listen, I know y'all are full because I am full. My spirit is full. So make sure y'all connect with Miss Alto. And until the next episode, remember to continue to learn, continue to grow, and always lead with love. And these are Alto's 3 tips for leading ladies.
Okay, so my 3 tips for leading ladies would be find your triggers. Find your triggers and find out why that triggers you. And then try to heal that part of you that's triggered. Also, during that, you have to be gentle with yourself. Don't be so stuck on what this person is doing, what that person is doing, what that person has done, how that person came out of what they came out of. That's not your journey. That's their journey. So you have to be gentle with your journey. And my 3rd tip would be love. Whatever you do, you need to do it in love. Loving yourself first. First, love you. Find those triggers. Help heal yourself in those triggers. Be gentle with yourself and love you. Then you can pour into others and love others, because then you'll be working in overflow and abundance of love. So that's how you can love others. You have to love you first. You pour into you first. And that is what's going to come out of you. So those are my 3.